We will learn about nutrition in human beings in this video. We know that humans are heterotrophs and they perform holozoic mode of nutrition, which means that they take in solid complex food through their mouth and then inside the body it is broken down into the simpler form. And for doing that they need a complex organ system which is called as digestive system. So digestive system in humans is made up of two main parts. One is alimentary canal, which is a 9-meter long coiled tube, starts from mouth and ends at anus. And in between mouth and anus there are many other organs which have varying diameters and shapes. The purpose of alimentary canal is to break down complex food into the simpler form, and for that purpose we need enzymes also, and these enzymes are secreted by the digestive glands. Now there are three digestive glands associated with the alimentary canal. One is salivary glands, which are three pairs, liver, and third is pancreas. These digestive glands secrete enzymes and pour these enzymes into the alimentary canal. So now first we will see the location and the structure of the various parts of the digestive system. So first part is mouth. It opens into a cavity which is called as buccal cavity. From the buccal cavity, food enters into a long tube called as esophagus and then to the stomach. From the stomach, it comes into the small intestine. So we can see small intestine is highly coiled and it is the longest part of the alimentary canal. And all the digestion and all the absorption is done in the small intestine. Means all the food that we have eaten, whatever we can digest is digested up till here, and then digested food is absorbed also. Then this small intestine connects with the large intestine at this point, and the undigested food is passed into this large intestine. And the large intestine opens into this vertical tube called as rectum, and undigested food is stored here for some time, and then it is egested out through the opening which is called as anus. So here there is anus. Now we will see about the digestive glands. First gland is salivary glands, which pour their secretion into the buccal cavity. Second is the liver, which is located above the stomach in the abdomen. Third is pancreas, which is located below the stomach in the abdomen region. And both liver and pancreas, they pour their secretions here, which is the first part of the small intestine, and it is called as duodenum. We will now see parts of the alimentary canal, and first part is mouth. Mouth is simply the opening which is guarded by lips, and its only function is ingestion. So when we open the mouth, there is a cavity inside, and this cavity is called as buccal cavity. We also called it as oral cavity. Now it consists of number 1, teeth, which help to crush, grind and chew the food to make it soft. Now there are 4 types of teeth inside the buccal cavity, which are incisors, canines, premolars and molars. And we know that the number of teeth in the upper and the lower jaw are same. Now this dental formula specifies the number of teeth in the upper and lower jaws. So we see that incisors are 2 pairs in the upper jaw and 2 pairs in the lower jaw. Similarly, canines are 1 pair each in the upper and lower jaws. Premolars 2 pairs each, and molars are 3 pairs in the upper jaw and 3 pairs in the lower jaw. So to remember this dental formula, we can remember 2, 1, 2, 3. So 2, 1, 2, 3 is the dental formula. The second thing in the buccal cavity is saliva, which is secreted by the salivary glands. It makes the food wet, but most importantly, it digests the starch present in the food. It means as soon as we put food inside the mouth, the digestion already starts, and the first thing to be digested inside the body is starch. Third thing in the buccal cavity is tongue, and we know that tongue helps us to taste the food, though it also helps us to speak. Along with it, when we take in the food is rolled in all the directions with the help of tongue, and it converts food into a food ball, which is called as bolus. Now this bolus helps in easy swallowing of the food. we will learn more about saliva, which are secreted by the salivary glands. Now there are three pairs of salivary glands. First pair is located at the sides of the face and it is called as parotid gland. Then another pair is present at the angles of the lower jaw, submandibular glands. And the third pair is present under the front part of the tongue and it is called as sublingual gland. All the three pairs of salivary glands secrete saliva, which is poured with the help of ducts. So you can see here these are the ducts which pour saliva into the buccal cavity. Now what actually is this saliva? So it is a fluid part which is made up of water, salts, mucin, which is a sticky substance, and very important is enzyme amylase. So it contains this enzyme amylase also. The functions of saliva are many. It acts as a solvent to dissolve the food. It stimulates the taste buds. It also helps to form the food ball, which is called as bolus. And most importantly, it converts starch into sugar. And we will be writing it like this, that starch is converted into sugar in the presence of enzyme amylase. Because it has been secreted by salivary gland, so we call it as salivary amylase. Now the sugar formed is actually maltose, if you can remember it. Maltose is a complex sugar and it is a disaccharide carbohydrate, which means it is made up of two molecules of glucose. Just for your knowledge, salivary amylase actually consists of two enzymes. One is ptyalin, other is lysozyme. Now it is actually ptyalin which converts starch into sugar. The other enzyme, lysozyme, it kills the bacteria that may have entered along with the food. Now the third part of alimentary canal is pharynx. Now food is taken in through the mouth and then it enters the buccal cavity. From the buccal cavity, food goes into the pharynx and from here it goes into this food pipe. But notice one thing here, through the nose air enters, goes into the nasal cavity and from the nasal cavity it also passes through the pharynx before passing to this trachea or the windpipe. So basically through the pharynx food is also passing and air is also passing. So pharynx is a funnel shaped 12 centimeter long part and it is the common passage for air and for food. Air passes towards the lungs and food passes to the esophagus and no digestion occurs in the pharynx. Fourth part is esophagus, which is a long tubular structure and it has a muscular wall. Now imagine yourself hanging to a branch of tree upside down. Means your legs are upwards and your head is downwards. And now you try eating something. Do you think that this food will go upwards against the gravity to reach your stomach? Yes, the food will go towards the stomach because food is not moving because of the gravitational pull, but it is moving towards the stomach because of the muscular movements of the esophagus. And these muscular movements are called as peristaltic movements. Now let's see what these peristaltic movements are. The peristaltic movements are simply the contraction and expansion movements of the muscular wall of the esophagus. Now this is the food ball, bolus. Wherever the food ball is, that wall will relax, but the wall of the esophagus just above the bolus will contract. As a result, this bolus will be pushed downwards. Then the next part will contract and it is pushed further downwards. Next part contracts and it is still pushed further downwards. So food in the esophagus is pushed down because of the peristaltic movement. So it reaches the stomach and its significance is this only, that food will always go towards the stomach and never backwards towards the buccal cavity. Fifth part of the alimentary canal is stomach. Stomach is C-shaped or J-shaped muscular organ which is located on the left side of the body in the abdomen. And stomach performs many functions which are storage of food, churning of food, partial digestion and regulation of flow of food into the small intestine. And we'll be discussing all these functions in detail. The first function is storage of food. Now we all know that our food includes basically carbohydrates, fats and proteins, and when we have eaten food, carbohydrates remain in the stomach for 1 to 2 hours before they are digested. Proteins remain there for up to 3 hours and fats take longest time to digest and they are there for 3 to 6 hours. It means that if we have eaten sufficiently, then we do not feel hungry for at least next 6 hours. So the significance of this is that storage of food enables us to take food at intervals and we do not keep eating all the time. Now the next function of stomach is churning of food. Now inside the stomach, the walls they have the gastric glands which secrete gastric juice. So in the stomach the food is mixed with this gastric juice and then the walls of the stomach they contract and relax periodically. Just like the mixture, when we put the food in the mixture, it gets mixed and turns into paste. Similarly, by the contraction and relaxation of the walls of the stomach, the food is converted into a semi-solid paste. Now this semi-solid paste of food is called as chyme. Next function is partial digestion. As we have just said that inside the wall of the stomach there are branched tubular gastric glands which secrete gastric juice. Now this gastric juice contains 4 things. First is enzyme pepsin. This enzyme pepsin digests the proteins and it converts proteins into peptones. So we'll be writing it like this: proteins converted into peptones, and above the arrow we will write the enzyme pepsin. Now pepsin will act only when the medium is acidic. Now it is so because in the stomach pepsinogen is present, which is another enzyme, and this pepsinogen cannot digest proteins. So pepsinogen first gets converted into pepsin in the presence of hydrochloric acid, and then this pepsin can digest the proteins. The second thing in the gastric juice is hydrochloric acid, which is a concentrated acid, and we have just seen it is required for the formation of the pepsin or for the action of the pepsin. But apart from it, hydrochloric acid, because of its strong acidic character, it can also kill the germs. Now if too much of acid is produced in the stomach, it can harm the inner wall of the stomach or corrode it, or it can also cause ulcers in the inner wall of the stomach. Therefore, another thing is secreted in the gastric juice which is called as mucus. So mucus covers the inner lining of the stomach so that it cannot be affected by the harmful effect of hydrochloric acid. Now there is one more enzyme in the gastric juice which is gastric lipase. So it digests the fats and the lipids which are present in the food. So fats and lipids, they are digested and converted into fatty acids and glycerol in the presence of enzyme lipase. Fourth function of stomach is regulation of flow of food into the small intestine. It means that from the stomach food is not simply pushed into the small intestine, but at the mouth of the stomach there are strong muscles which are called as sphincter muscles which remain closed, and they open for some time and some food is passed from the stomach into the small intestine and then they close again. So after some time they open and some more food is passed into the small intestine and then they close. So basically with the help of sphincter muscles, stomach regulate the amount of food passing into the small intestine. That is, food is passed in small amounts after small intervals into the intestine. The intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal and it is approximately 6 meters long. Now in herbivores, because they need to digest cellulose which takes very long time to get digested. So in herbivores, small intestine is longer, while in carnivores it is little smaller because meat takes very less time to get digested. Now because in the small intestine digestion is completed and also it has to absorb the digested food. Therefore, the inner wall of the small intestine has projections which are hanging into the small intestine. Now these projections are called as villi and they have different shapes, and depending upon different shapes of the villi, small intestine has been divided into 3 parts. So duodenum, it has leaf shaped villi, jejunum has tongue shaped villi, while ileum has finger like projections which are called as villi. So now we will see the duodenum first. Now duodenum does not secrete any enzyme of its own, but the secretions of two important digestive glands are poured into the duodenum. Now these two glands are liver and pancreas. So first we will see the secretions of the liver. Now liver secretes bile juice which is stored for some time in this pouch like structure which is called as gallbladder, and from the gallbladder with the help of this duct this bile is taken into duodenum. Now bile contains bile juice and bile salts, and bile juice contains the pigments which makes the medium alkaline. Now the food in the duodenum is coming from the stomach where there was a strong acid called hydrochloric acid. But now in the small intestine, enzymes can only work if the medium is alkaline. So there is need to convert the acidic medium into the alkaline medium. That is why bile pigments are produced which makes the medium alkaline, and the reason is that now the enzymes can work in alkaline medium. Then the second thing produced by liver is bile salts. They emulsify the fats. Now the meaning of emulsification of fats is that bigger fat globules are broken down into tiny droplets of fat. Obviously the tiny droplets will increase the surface area and it will help in digestion. So the significance is increase the surface area for easy digestion. Now liver, which is the largest gland of the human body, it is an exocrine gland. Now the meaning of exocrine gland is that when a gland secretes something and those secretions are poured into a specific part with the help of ducts. Another digestive gland that pours its secretion into the duodenum is pancreas. Let's first see this figure. Now this is pancreas, which is located just below the stomach, and it secretes pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice is poured with the help of this duct into the duodenum. But we need to notice one thing here, that the duct which is coming from pancreas fuses with the duct which is coming from the liver, and both these ducts together as one duct open into the duodenum. Now pancreatic juice is secreted into the duodenum with the help of duct, which means that pancreas is behaving as an exocrine gland. Now exocrine glands are the glands which pour their secretion with the help of ducts into the target organ. Now pancreatic juice is being secreted and it contains two things. Number one is sodium bicarbonate, which we know is basic in nature. So it helps to make the medium alkaline for the functioning of the enzymes. Now second thing which is secreted in the pancreatic juice is the enzyme. There are three types of enzymes. One is pancreatic amylase, then pancreatic lipase and trypsin. Function of pancreatic amylase is to convert starch into sugar, just like the salivary amylase. Function of pancreatic lipase is to convert lipids and fats into fatty acids, same as the gastric lipase, and function of trypsin is to convert proteins into the amino acids. But apart from secreting the enzymes, pancreas also secretes certain other chemicals which are called as hormones. Now these hormones are secreted directly into the blood, which means that pancreas is also behaving as an endocrine gland. Endocrine glands are the ductless glands that pour their secretions directly into the blood, and these secretions are called as hormones. So there are two hormones which are secreted by the endocrine glands. Number one is glucagon. So glucagon is produced by the alpha cells of the pancreas and they convert glycogen into glucose. Another hormone which is secreted is insulin, which is produced by the beta cells and they convert glucose into the glycogen. Now we know that whichever carbohydrate we have eaten, that is converted into the simplest form glucose, which during respiration produces energy. Now what if our body does not require energy at the moment because we have no physical activity but we have eaten too much? Now then what happens to that extra glucose? Now that glucose is converted into glycogen with the help of insulin. Now if the insulin secretion is lesser in a person, then this glucose will not be converted into glycogen and it will remain in the blood. And then the person will get the disease called diabetes. So diabetes is increase in the level of glucose in the blood. Why is this diabetes caused? Because of lack of insulin in the body. It means the function of insulin is to regulate the amount of glucose into the blood by converting this glucose into glycogen and storing it in the liver. So now we see that pancreas behaves as exocrine gland because it secretes pancreatic juice through the ducts. It also behaves endocrine gland because it secretes hormones and pours them directly into the blood. Such glands which behave as exocrine as well as endocrine glands are called as heterocrine glands or the dual glands. So pancreas is a heterocrine gland. From the duodenum, food is passed into the jejunum and the ileum. Now these two parts, apart from having villi, they also have many glands which produce the intestinal juice. Now intestinal juice contains many enzymes so that all the digestion can be completed here. Now all the proteins are converted into amino acids, carbohydrates into glucose and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Now there are villi also because once the food is digested, it has to be absorbed. Now we have already done that villi are of different shapes. Now the tongue-shaped villi in the jejunum performs the main function of absorption, means it absorbs amino acids, glucose, fatty acids and glycerol. And the rest things which are left, which are certain vitamins, etc., they are absorbed by the finger-like projections present in the ileum. So now the digestion is completed and absorption is also done in the small intestine. So you can see these finger-like projections in the inner wall of the small intestine. The intestine is designed specially to perform its function of absorption. Now let's see. First, it has the finger-like projections that increase the surface area for absorption. Then it is covered with large number of blood vessels so that the food can directly go into the blood. Long length of small intestine also helps in complete digestion and the absorption of food because food remains there for a longer time, so it can be absorbed easily. Now the next part of the alimentary canal is large intestine. So we can see here it is shorter but it is wider than the small intestine and it has the shape of the question mark. Now the constrictions at regular intervals give a sacculated look to the large intestine. Now the large intestine is followed by this vertical tube which is 15 to 20 centimeter long and this is called as rectum, and at the end of the rectum there is an opening which is the last part of the alimentary canal and that opening is called as anus. Now the functions of large intestine is that undigested food passes through the large intestine in the form of feces and then it absorbs water from that undigested food. Now after the water is absorbed, the feces it becomes solid, and for lubrication to move forward, the large intestine also secretes some mucus, and then the fecal matter is stored in the rectum for some time and it is egested out through the anus with the help of anal sphincter muscles, which are the strong muscles. So these are the parts of the alimentary canal. We will now draw the structure of the alimentary canal in humans and it is going to look like this. So let's draw it quickly. Keep your pencils ready. First part is the mouth. We have drawn mouth, buccal cavity and this funnel shaped pharynx, and this opening goes towards the nasal cavity. Once you have drawn these parts, next is the food pipe, which is a long tube like structure, so it should be at least 5 to 6 lines long. After that there is stomach. So this food pipe or esophagus will go little from here, we will take it up a little and then bring it down. When it is going up, I have let's see, we have made this V shape here. Don't make a U shape here because then stomach will move away from the esophagus and we need to make it closer. So after this it will come down making C or the J shape, and so this is our stomach. Now notice one thing, that stomach starts from this line, top of this line, and it ends at the bottom of the same line, a little away from it. We will draw the other part of the stomach starting from here, and it comes up till here, which is the mouth of the stomach, which opens into the small intestine. And the first part of the small intestine is duodenum, which is C-shaped. So we have drawn this duodenum for 2 lines. Its total length is 2 lines. After that we will draw the digestive gland liver. For drawing that, see, I have drawn this line here. Please don't use the scale here, do it freehand. Now it has to be long line, longer than the duodenum. It is coming outside a little of duodenum, and from the stomach also it is going little outwards. Then give it the shape. So from here it is little narrow, then suddenly it becomes broader and then narrow again. So this is our liver. Now just see carefully. From the liver, if you draw a vertical line, see the dot. This dot is just 1 centimeter away from this vertical line. Similarly, on the other side of the liver, if you draw a vertical line, this second dot is 1 centimeter towards the right of this line. And with these dots, we are going to make the large intestine. So this is the large intestine with the constrictions. I draw the other part of the large intestine. See, I have made one constriction less on each side, because the large intestine will be bending from both the sides. So I have drawn one side. It has come in the 4 lines. Now you can see this part. This is called as vermiform appendix, and it is just the projection, and it is a vestigial organ. Now vestigial organs are those organs which were in use sometimes back, but they are no longer in use. Now its use earlier was to digest the cellulose when we used to eat the raw food, but nowadays, because we are eating the cooked food, so it has no use. It is just there, but sometimes food gets stuck there and it rots there, and there is swelling in this part, and we say that the person has got appendix, which is actually very painful and it has to be operated. Now we draw the other part of the large intestine, same length, 4 lines. Now we will see that food comes here in the large intestine, it goes up. So this part is called as ascending colon, because large intestine is also called as colon. This part is called as transverse colon, and from here food comes down, so it is called as descending colon. Now this dot is exactly in the center of this transverse colon, exact in the center. So now this large intestine will bend and it will come this side. So I have drawn. It reached the dot and then it has come vertically downwards to form rectum. Now we have completed drawing rectum and anus. So with this, our large intestine has been completed. So we will draw the next digestive gland. Now look here, this line again I have drawn for the another digestive gland, which is pancreas, and it has the shape of the leaf. So I have drawn this leaf shaped pancreas just below the stomach, and you notice that I have left one complete line, a little bit more space for drawing this here. Now this pancreas secretes the pancreatic juice with the help of duct into the duodenum. So I draw this duct, and this duct joins with the duct coming from this gallbladder. You need to draw this gallbladder also, and then both the ducts combine and open into this duodenum. So this is the pancreas. Shade the ducts, and now we will draw the rest of the part of the small intestine. We have drawn duodenum till now. Now this part is coming from behind the large intestine, so I have drawn it dotted. Now we know that small intestine is highly coiled, so we will draw a coiled line. Draw it in any direction, but try to spread it throughout the space in between the large intestine. So it starts from here and this ends at this point at the large intestine. Now this I will make double, because it is a tubular structure, so I will make it to give it a tube like shape. So double hole of it carefully, and now this is our small intestine. If you want, you can fill in the rest of the space also, which you can still see. After this, I will start with the shading. Now this is the large intestine. I have shaded the sides to make it look prominent. Then I have shaded the small intestine, pancreas, liver, stomach. So all the parts are shaded now, and our diagram is almost complete. Now we need to label the diagram. Now students, if we label the diagram drawing lines in any direction, some lines are horizontal, some are slanting, some are smaller, that looks very untidy. So we will draw all horizontal lines and take them to almost at the same level, and then we will label it. So this way the diagrams will look neater. So I have labeled all the parts. You can see it carefully and label all the parts. Now there is, I feel that this small intestine is lesser, so I have drawn this one more line here, you can see, and then I will double it so that to give it more full look and then shade it also. So this is now our small intestine, and there is one more part. You know that human body is divided into three main segments. So those segments are head, thorax and abdomen. You know that our head region, above the neck is the head region and below it is the thorax. Now there is a muscular part called as diaphragm which separates our thorax with the abdomen. So this is the abdomen region where our liver, stomach, pancreas, intestines, kidneys, etc. are present. And in the thorax region, our heart, lungs, ribs, etc. are present. So this diaphragm, I made diaphragm to specify that above it is the thorax and below it is our abdomen. So now our diagram is complete and the human digestive system is also completed with it.